Why do they have the gold? Why do they have the power? Why?
Hey, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm Jan.
And I'm Paul.
And welcome to the Shadowcast.
Yeah. All right.
We're this silly and we haven't even started drinking yet, but
Yeah.
let's get that done.
Salute.
Cheers, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Big news, big stuff going on. You've gone where no one should go, right?
And everybody is going.
What the fuck is going on with Trump?
Yeah, you know, it's a topic everybody's talking about, but I wanted to have just like a up to the moment summary of all that's kind of going on and just kind of analyze all the different theories and stuff. So
And the
'cause
fucking
can
clickbait. Holy cow.
Yeah, you can spend so much
damn.
time watching all these videos.
Bullshit. Yeah. A bunch of horseshit videos.
And
right.
some with bullshit titles, which is one of my pet peeves, is when they promise you that, oh, there's going to be this big thing. Like one of them was pictures of Thomas Crooks' father, you know, face like that. He's in court and he's spilling the beans and stuff. Yeah. And there was nothing.
Right.
This channel, I will never watch this fugitive crime channel ever again, because I watched 3 of their videos and they all promised big things and delivered bullshit.
I saw this clip art of J.D. Vance sucking Peter Thiel's dick.
Sucking what?
That's bullshit. Huh?
Sucking what?
Peter Thiel's cock? I thought, wait a minute here. J.D. Vance going down on Peter Thiel?
Well,
do you think?
figuratively,
it's
yes.
Gotta be,
figuratively,
yes.
It's
got to be AI.
Let's hope so.
I thought, how can it be true? So I thought after the 15th minute of the video, this isn't real.
Well, and we were just discussing, we have come to the place in history where you really can be fooled by anything, and you really don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
It used to be maybe you couldn't believe what you heard, and now you can't even believe what you see with AI being able to mess with
totally right
videos.
Yeah, right. It's like we've come to this age, right, where it's like you can't believe anything. You can't believe what you see. You can't believe what you hear. Everything can be faked.
Can't even believe what you feel because they've got energy weapons.
And then it's like, well, okay, so then do you just end up believing nothing, or do you just end up with this idea that you only believe what suits your pre-drawn conclusion, which I think
just what the government says. That's all.
Mama, should I trust the government? Come on, Jan, let's about that. Are we going to violate copyright if we started singing Pink Floyd? Probably, right?
I don't want to find out just yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have my shit that don't make sense list.
Oh, and that's real.
It's 2 pages.
I'm going to stick it up on screen.
And then I have my shit that seems surreal list.
Oh.
And then I have the theories that we'll
I
go
love that
through.
you printed it out and you actually have like little logos for each page. That's cute.
Yeah, I did a little emojis. The thinking face, shit that don't make sense.
Nice.
What did I do for the surreal? Oh yeah, Dolly's melting clock. What did I do for theories? Oh yeah, the Beaker scientific hypothesis.
Nice. They were very well thought out.
Hey man, I put some time into this.
Cool.
So that you don't have to. Okay.
All right. So all that fucking around aside, what am I going to see today? What are we going to watch?
Just going to watch a few clips. Basically, you know, the stuff that doesn't make sense about this, if we were to believe what the government's telling us, and they're not telling us too much either. I think there should be press conferences every day updating us on what they know. They're probably going to say that, that's a security breach or something like that. I think the big security breach was the Secret Service can't protect a former president.
Well, yeah. I think that's the story they want you to hear. I don't think that's the case at all. But I think that we're looking at this is like the move, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that 2 days after the president was shot, he nominates J.D. Vance as his vice president. I don't think that those two things are different. I think that those two things are connected, and that we're looking at the lengths that people will go through inside the what do you call it? The cartel, the spy network,
the blob.
The surveillance state, right? Run by what we thought were a bunch of tech geeks that actually control politics on a global level, that are absolutely insistent that they maintain control of the United States government at any cost. And I think that, JD's their boy. So they wanted their boy in the White House. And 2 days after that, Mark Zuckerberg is out giving his endorsement to Trump. Fuck you. Fuck you, Mark. And don't get me wild. Don't get me wild up on that fucking guy.
Thumbnail there. So okay, so that's one of the theories, is that the deep state was sending a message.
Yeah, that's one.
Not only to Trump, but to anybody who goes against what the majority of the deep state wants. I think there's different factions of it. So the fact that Trump wants to end the Ukraine war and all that kind of stuff, that messes with their money laundering plans.
But he doesn't. What is he a fuck?
Yeah, but he didn't really. He wasn't the big warmongering president that the rest of them were. So in that respect, he was, a little bit of an outsider. I don't think he's a complete outsider.
You know what blew my mind the first time I ever saw it was the amount of there was a website. I hope it's still up and I can find it, and I'll maybe just run it for you here. But if not, I'll try to find something in the links. And it was the amount of bombings in Afghanistan per year.
Yeah.
And along the way, it told you who was the president.
Right.
Right. And it was like, the guy who I hated more than anything on the fucking planet at the time, when I can't even distinguish between the father and the son fucking Bushes. Makes me want to scrape my tongue off just for having said their name.
Father's much smarter than son.
Well, the son was just a puppet for the father.
Right, right.
And there's the deep state. He was the deep state. He created the fucking
deep
state.
Head of the CIA.
Yeah, he's the one who started getting files on all the judges and files on all the, at that time, politicians that were not just employees of the cartel, the billionaire club, and getting control of people. And as that grew, obviously they just started putting their own people in. So, yeah.
So anyway, that is one of the theories, that they were sending a message for whatever reason. Either that you take JD as your vice president, or you play along with us if you win, or whatever.
Yeah.
So let me just run down some of the theories here. This whole lone gunman acting alone. We've heard that one before. Some people think there was a second gunman, and there were shots from the water tower or shots from the window of that same building. Some people think Trump staged it for public sympathy or votes, popularity.
Oh, you know what? Can we just hit him while you're hit? Let's talk about him while you're hitting him.
Oh, okay, all right. Lone gunman acting alone. It was just that one guy.
Yeah, I mean, what a crack of shit.
And here's the deal. Here's the deal. That guy didn't get accepted in his high school rifle team because he was such a poor shot.
Oh, so is that true? Do you think that's true?
That's
some horseshit you hear. People say anything. You can't believe fucking anything. You can't believe anything.
So what, we're going to end the podcast right now?
See you guys. Nah.
But anyway, in 2 years, did he get to be such an expert marksman, whatever?
Well, I'll tell you something. I've got kind of a wacky opinion on this, and I would love you. I would thank you. And publicly on air, if somebody can show me a photograph that can be independently verified as not having been altered, that shows Thomas Crooks with a gun on that roof. Because you know something, the more time that I've spent watching the tape and watching this go over and over again, the more I started to think, I think there's somebody in the tree that's in front
that
of
tree that was
building.
blocking the view of some of the.
And I
Secret
think
Service.
that's where the sniper was, and they couldn't be seen. And they, however, they got Thomas Crooks to agree to climb up on that roof. I think that they paid him money to climb up on the roof, and I don't think he had a gun, and I don't think he had any fucking idea that he was about to get his brains blown out by the Secret
You
Service.
don't think? How could you be that dumb?
Because you don't have a gun. And the Secret
Still.
Service, the law of the rule of the Secret Service, which explains their behavior, is he's scoping, right? He's scoping, and he sees Thomas Crooks up there. But just because you see somebody's head peeking out the top of a roof, imagine if the Secret Service, every time they saw somebody in some different position, just fucking killed people. And then they get over there and they're like, "Oh shit! It was a mother with her 2 kids, and they don't have a weapon. They have to see the weapon. They can't shoot if they don't see a weapon."
But cops all the time shoot if they suspect the guy's got a weapon.
Oh,
and
of course.
I
Well,
would think
but
that
they
the
have plenty of
Secret
time to
Service
cover
would
up.
have a higher level of.
Well, because the cops can fucking cover it all up before they have to announce it to anybody, right? They've already been out on the scene with bleach and fucking taking care of everything before.
Okay,
before
we're
they
going
even
off
announce it.
topic here.
Well, but on this topic of this guy acting alone, I don't think he acted alone. I don't think he even had a fucking gun. I think he was up on the roof, and the Secret Service was trying to shoot him, but they didn't want to shoot him.
And they planted 8 shells up there.
Would that be so odd? Would that be so hard to believe? Because
No, I'm just asking you to clarify.
No, I think would that be so hard to believe? Because I never saw a gun in all those people that had video footage of that guy up on the roof of everything.
Well,
was he all of a sudden so smart? He doesn't even wear colored clothes the same color as the fucking roof.
Well, okay, no, here's the stupid part. He was in shorts, and it was 120 degrees on that metal on the roof.
So there you go. I mean, yeah.
But
so-
you know what? You're the first one to say the tree theory.
Oh, no, I think a tree
because
is
that
the-
would be the same trajectory.
Yes, and it gives a perfect cover for somebody who's a real professional
Right.
who is in camouflage and looks like that tree and got in there the night before and in the middle of the night and stayed there throughout the entire event and waited until the cops left and that night or the 2 days later to leave the place, you know.
He packed several lunches, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, I mean that's what those guys, that's what they do in the military when they're trying to take out a leader, you know, like what we just saw happen with Hamas, right?
So another one is shots from the water tower. Some
it's
people think
interesting.
they saw somebody on the water tower. A water tower would be pretty hard to hang out on, and any of these things.
Where is the
would be
water
hard-
tower?
Okay, your tree theory is one thing, but
Yeah, I just-
expect to get away with an attempted assassination if you're shooting from that roof. You'll never get down without getting caught or whatever. Same thing with the water tower.
Right.
Some people said they saw somebody there, but there's a little blur of a shadow, and the trajectory doesn't work right. You know, analyzed by experts and all that sort of thing. Same thing with the shots from the window. There's a window in that building. However, law enforcement was supposed to be in there, so they would kind of have to be in on it.
Oh, really interesting. But you know something? I wonder if anybody's done this. It would seem as though there's some known factors, right? Like the height of that stage and the who they shot and where that person was in the audience when they got shot. It would seem to me like nothing would give you exact locations better.
I've been watching some great videos from like ex Navy SEALs, ex CIA,
Oh, we need to get some math geeks
ex
on this.
military guys, and all this kind of stuff. And you know, and one guy even was protecting dignitaries and things like that, and worked with the Secret Service and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things they said was that, you know, they don't think this guy was an expert shooter, and that he was aiming at the head, and just because Trump turned his head, they got his ear. They don't think that. They think he was actually aiming at the chest and missed, just for something like more solid and more,
Oh yeah, yeah.
more legit of a shot, and got his ear. But the other shots were like way off, like to get that comparatore guy, the other shots were like way off. So this guy does not seem to have been an expert marksman.
Right. Unless, of course, and I've seen a couple of like Law and Order episodes in Columbo that had this plot where it's actually a very professional assassin, and they cover up the fact that they're a professional assassin. So we all think, oh, he missed and he got the ear. But what if the ear was the point, and that guy was letting him know, motherfucker, look at, right? Like, I bet Trump got a phone call. If it was going to happen, Trump would be like, you have to, play things by ear, Donald.
We were kind this time, but next time it's not going to be so good.
And then the next day he gets a shot in the ear, and then the next day they say,
well, I guess that's a possibility.
Yes.
I don't think it was that...
but window eye is an interesting one.
I don't think it was like Trump staged it and they wanted to, do the grazing thing and make it look like it was an attempted assassination. You wouldn't take that kind of a chance with your principal person.
No, right. But I'll tell you something. Early on, I was a real proponent. Well, it seemed to make sense to me because just the day before the Trump shooting happened, I was thinking to myself,
Paul.
You got a marketing dilemma. What would you do if you were in charge of the president's marketing right now? Because fucking Biden owns the media. Every single story.
In a bad way, though. In a bad way.
There really is no such thing as bad press. If you're in the press and your guy isn't in the press,
I think it's bad press if you're tripping all the time and you can't form a sentence and you freeze on
no way.
A debate.
Yeah, of course. But if you keep the press, which is what was just starting to happen in the day right before the Trump shooting, I saw maybe New York Times, I'm not sure who, but it was a major one, and the title was Comeback Joe. And they already had a new fucking nickname, and it was Comeback Joe. And they were talking about how many times in his life he's come from behind and he's won. And, if you have long enough and people are paying attention, reading your story every day, boy, you can herd them better than a dog herds sheep. You can put them anywhere you want, right? Because you got them every day.
Trump was way out ahead, and okay, so let's take a look at the size of the crowd that they had there.
Oh, hey, we're actually gonna play a clip. 20 minutes of talking our shit.
Everybody's seen so many clips.
Yeah. Well, here's another one.
Look at that crowd, just as far as you can see. I can't believe they were playing YMCA. But
huge.
Yeah, so Trump was way out ahead in terms of points and all that kind of stuff.
Of course, because he just kicked Biden's ass all over the debate stage.
Right. But he had been gaining, and, and all the okay, look, so they've tried to get him so many different ways. They tried to get him for 4 years with Russiagate. Impeach him twice, even though that's not a conviction of any sort. It's impeachment is just the accusation. Then all of the, and then all the, sexual lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. Then all these court cases. So none of this stuff is actually working. He's actually gaining popularity with every step of the way.
But this is all. I know you think it's legit, but that's all. For me,
you don't know what I think.
No, don't I? Don't you think that that's legit? That there's a real fight going on between Biden and Trump? I think it's all horseshit.
I think I'm coming to believe that in the past, ever since like JFK, they have every horse in the race.
Every horse, motherfuckers.
So, but I do think in some respects, Trump is a bit of an outcast and a bit of a rebel. And I think there's different factions in the deep state. And sometimes these factions are warring against each other. it does seem like the Democrats do have a lot of control of a lot of stuff, more than the Republicans, like just almost total control of the media and Hollywood and stuff like that is mostly Democrats. So I think they're the stronger faction.
Interesting.
But anyway, he was gaining popularity, and I think this is one of the another. It could be, that's why there's a conspiracy theory that the deep state was trying to take him out. However, the problem with that theory is, if the deep state wanted to take him out, if they wanted to do that assassination, they would have done it. They would have got him.
Of course. Well, look at. I mean, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but for me, you know how they named after 9/11, they called the shit this piece of toilet paper the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
And so they have this little like a club, I guess. They probably all drink whatever blood.
Scotch.
Yeah.
On the rocks with blood.
Blood on the rocks. You know, that they love to misname this stuff. Right. And I think that one of the original things that they did this with generations ago was the Secret Service. Mm-hmm. And I think it's called the Secret Service because it's what their service is secret. And I don't think
it's to protect the secrets.
Well, they have a Secret Service. They serve someone secretly. And when you think about the two things that the Secret Service does, which one is, and most importantly, and first and foremost, protect the money. And so they work directly for the private central bank, right? They are. If you think about the fact that their whole job is to protect the money supply, and that's their
the CIA.
Yeah, but the CIA does other stuff, right? But like the two things that the Secret Service does is protect the money and protect the president, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're protecting the president. I think that why every president goes out of office. Man, you know how after like the first month you see the president again and he looks like
the first day, the first week, they're like, what?
Like the fucking gray hairs.
I thought I'd have some power.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, they're gonna kill everybody in my family. They're fucking. I just found out what's going on.
I didn't know what I was getting into. Yeah.
And I think that's the deal, right? So I think the Secret Service they work for the money supply. So if Voldemort says, you know, like, hey, Secret Service, you fucking, they tell the top people, right? I think probably a very rare few actually know, and that the majority of the Secret Service agents think they're doing God's work or whatever stupid shit they believe.
So if your theory is completely correct, that Trump is just as much playing for the deep state as any other president, and that he staged this for the extra votes and all that sort of thing, there are a few things that seemed really surreal to me.
Oh?
I mean, just the fact that, he just they say he just turned his head, but if you watch more previous of that video, he turned his head a lot. So if somebody was aiming just at his ear, I guess he'd have a chance to set his sights or whatever.
Yeah.
But he gets shot, and I'll play that clip in slow motion, but he gets shot, and then he's just like, oh, it just seemed like such a mild reaction. And then he just slowly goes down, and not everybody, some people just stayed standing up. Some people were taking video. People were not freaked out.
And there was this one video, which I don't know if it was real, where they were showing this woman in the background, and she was as calm as fuck, right?
Yeah.
She clearly knew what was going on.
She was the first one to video. She had her phone already ready.
Yeah.
I watched some behavioral experts analyze her. They didn't come to any full conclusion.
Well, she's as cold as ice.
But there was a guy and actually we're going to have another video on him. He's a brainwashing expert. And behavioral expert. But he said in his 30 years of doing this stuff, even in combat situations and all kinds of stuff, he's never seen anybody be so calm and react so differently than any normal
Well,
person.
clearly an agent. I mean, just so clearly she was.
And she was looking before the shot. She was looking at where the shot was going to come from and all that sort of thing.
Right.
But okay, so he does that thing. But when he pulls his hand away, I don't see any blood on his hand.
No?
I don't see any blood on his hand.
Oh, interesting.
Then he goes down,
Then
and
he
then
has-
when he comes back up, there's blood on his ear, and there's blood on this part of his face, but right here, there's no blood. So I'm thinking, is that where his hand was? But if that's the case, there would have been blood on his hand. Yes, it's kind of grainy video, but there were just all kinds of things that were just really surreal about
Yeah, I mean,
the
first time I saw that, I was like, the first video I watched after I watched that, the first time I saw the Trump, hit his ear, I pulled up the Vince McMahon WWF video and watched Donald Trump get fake hit by a chair because I was like, I couldn't remember it. Let me tell you a story from my traumatic childhood. My parents they take me to a WWF fight in Buffalo with some friends. The traumatic part was my hero, Ravishing Ric Flair, had just been in a fight and there was blood and it was fucking just mayhem. And I was upset. My fucking hero just got bloodied with the stuff. And I say to my dad, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I walk into the bathroom. Who fucking walks by us but Ric Flair? And he's got no blood, no problem, right? It was all just theater. But this is in the 70s, right? Early 80s,
right?
And so. If they were so good back then at being able
Right.
to use these blood packs.
And they do it in Hollywood all the time. So I had the same initial impression is that he could have, hit his ear. There's some sort of pack that makes the blood come out. And then what are they doing back behind the podium? I have since seen video from behind the podium. I don't see anything suspicious. Although, you've got Secret Service covering him.
And if the video from behind the podium
And
is even fucking real.
it took a long time, behind the podium. So, what was going on there.
And you know what I can't understand is this whole idea of the Secret Service acting like body shields. Like, why don't they have some fucking bulletproof shields behind that podium? And if some shit starts to go down, they just pull out all these shields and just shield themselves into a little circle. What the fuck are you doing with... You got this giant president that's like 6'4" or something. Tall.
Well, and see, this is on my shit that don't make sense page. Is that a lot of this stuff didn't seem? It seemed like TV, and it seemed like poor TV.
Oh my God.
That I guess we could say it took a little while for them to jump on him. Maybe I'm being unfair there. But for sure, when they're taking him off stage, they are not protecting him. They're
It's
not.
hilarious.
They're
This is
not
hilarious.
shielding him. His head is exposed. His chest is exposed.
There was strict orders.
They let him get his shoes. They let him do the fist punch, whatever you call that. That to me, it's like Secret Service is in charge. I don't care if he's an ex-fucking president. We're in charge. You're not stopping to do anything. You're not exposing yourself anymore. We're all going to cover you up.
You're a state
We're not
asset.
going to have this
You're an
little
asset.
tiny girl in front that's not shielding you from anything.
I mean, they look pretty bad. They look like a bunch of idiots.
It looked like a clown car,
clown show.
you know.
Yeah, but I think that's.
So
hey, let's thank diversity. Let's take a minute to appreciate that.
I'm all for women and getting jobs and getting paid as long as they can do the job. But if I want a bodyguard, I don't want a small woman in front of me that's not protecting my head.
Well, look at my point is, like, I got no problem if you're a woman and you're a badass, and you got steel in your veins.
Like Michelle Obama, she can protect you.
What? Oh, because of the height. Yeah. Dude looks like a lady.
She's a big woman.
Yeah, weird Adam's apple. So
And a bulging crotch.
So I mean, I got no problem with a woman as somebody that was my bodyguard, but like like you'd have to have some steel, right? And like quite clearly, those women have never seen live action ever. And they pissed themselves. That lady was so jacked up on adrenaline, she couldn't put her fucking gun away.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, like, that happens. You know, like the first time I ever got in a fist fight. Oh my God, I could barely see from the adrenaline coursing through my body, right? Because I was so afraid. And like, but after, you know, your 10th fight, that doesn't happen anymore. And you have like an ability to stay focused. And like that woman, you learn that in those moments, which is what soldiers learn, and I think it's mostly disgusting. But those soldiers learn, you know, after the 10th time somebody's tried to kill you, man, you know how to focus your attention and energy into taking out a threat. You don't start pissing yourself because somebody just shot at you. That's the moment when you become the most focused and the most centered, like exactly like that woman in the back. That's that woman in the back. I'll tell you, I don't know who you are, but if you're into threesomes, I'll leave my.
All right. I want to show this clip of the slow motion, and can anybody else see any blood on his hand?
Couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's sad, take a look what happened.
I mean,
but you know something.
It's grainy, but
in fairness, that was so fast after his ear got tweaked.
It hadn't
if
started
it was real,
bleeding yet.
Yeah,
I wondered, but I don't know.
But I think the whole thing is just a gag. I think, you know, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I go back and forth between Donald Trump used to get hit by chairs in the WWF and like that the only thing more important, there's nothing more important in the entire network of evildoers than to keep everybody believing that, you know, there's a difference between Democrats and Republicans.
So let's look at how good they're trying to shield him as they take him out. So there's a lot of exposure there, head, chest, and they got the smallest person there is in front where the bullet came from.
Although she had to be there because if there wasn't, then they couldn't have got a good photograph of the president doing his arm thing. So, like, I'm just saying, you know what I'm starting to think? The conspiracy goes even deeper, which is they paid fucking Robert De Niro because these guys have a sick kind of sense of humor, right? Like, you have to in some way appreciate the comedic value. They get Robert De Niro, star of Wag the Dog, right, to come out and start accusing Trump and being so pro Biden, right? And he's at the hearings. Remember all that shit with Robert De Niro? And now here we are, Wag the Dog, a couple months later. We're watching it unfold, right? It's a spectacular theater. It's so good you don't even think it's fake.
Yeah, I mean, if it was something staged, you cannot get a better bump in popularity from your core group, and even people from the other side have switched over. So, you know,
it's why they
I
have
studied
the gold.
marketing. Yeah, I studied marketing in college, and I'm always watching how they are marketing things to us, and you know, just the repetition of things over and over and over. And
Right.
the editing out of other things that would, contradict what they're trying to tell you. But if you wanted to have like the perfect, bump in popularity, right before the election, I can't imagine a better one than that. And then that picture, there's one of them with that flag right in the back. It's like you couldn't have staged that better.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
I'm not saying they did.
If you went to AI and said, AI, right, make a photograph that's as iconic as possible of a president that just got shot. Surely it would just say, I don't have to. Donald Trump did it last week. And that would be the picture it would produce for you.
However, I got a little clip here of him being dazed at the end, and it does look like, he doesn't look like his normal in control kind of guy.
And then the crowd begins chanting.
So yeah, he didn't look like, in that clip, he didn't look to me like he was faking it.
Yeah, no, I mean, for all, who knows? I mean, he looked hurt when he got hit with that chair.
So maybe there was some physical thing.
Maybe, but I guess the thing is just like either way, whether this whole thing, I think maybe for me the sort of conclusion I've come to at this early stage, right, is whether Trump faked it with a blood pack, or, and my other theory is that he was given a real ultimatum to take JD as his vice president, because JD is absolutely a part of In-Q-Tel and absolutely a part of the cabal that runs the tech giants. I mean, they don't talk about that.
Watch our JD video.
Yeah, they don't talk about his grandpappy and whatever else, but they never seem to talk about the Peter Thiel years.
He knew so many people with so much money and was so connected and working for them and interning under them, and started his own venture capital fund and all that. Okay, so there's the Trump staged it all. There's it was a message to Trump. And then there's it was the deep state. I think the main thing for me that it wasn't the deep state trying to take him out is that they're good enough that they would have taken him out.
Yeah, I mean, so many of these things, like if they wanted him dead, he'd be dead.
But okay, so there's one in between, I guess. There's one in between that they just allowed this to happen, that there was this deranged 20-year-old and blah, 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 and then they just did so many things to make it easy for this guy to do it. Like they didn't have the security that they should have had. They didn't have the meeting. There was no communication with the Secret Service. They did everything in their power to make it possible that some wacko kid could do this, and they, probably knew about him in advance.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's all sorts of nonsense out there.
His parents did report him missing, and apparently they were saying that his behavior had been off for a few days, and they were worried enough, whether they knew the gun was missing or not, but they were worried enough to alert the police that he was missing. This is a 20-year-old that's been gone for 3 hours. I mean, that's not a normal thing to do.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, it is a normal thing to do if you actually are a part of it, and nothing's going to happen in 3 hours, and so you cover your own ass.
Well, and another reason to cover their ass is that apparently the search data on Crooks's phone, he searched this guy, I'll find his name, Crumbly, Ethan Crumbly. So in 2021, this is the guy who shot up some kids in school, 4 dead in Michigan. The parents went to jail because the parents knew that the kid had problems. The kid was like drawing pictures in school about, blood everywhere and shooting with people with a gun and all this kind of stuff. The parents bought him a gun for Christmas 4 days before he did all this kind of stuff. Oh. So the parents went to jail for 10 years. And so Crooks had searched this case online
Oh,
before this.
if you can believe it.
So if his parents knew it, and he knew his parents knew it, or maybe his parents were against Trump or whatever.
Huh.
But the thing is, politically, it doesn't jive. He wasn't really pro-Republican or pro-Democrat more than the other. He had voted Republican in the 2022 election locally, and he had donated $15 to a Democrat fund. So it wasn't clear. But he had searched pictures of Trump. He had searched pictures of Biden. He had researched the Democratic National Convention. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it seems impossible. I mean, how the fuck could some little kid get up on the top of a roof and take 7 shots without the Secret Service hitting him?
8.
Eight,
Eight theoretically. Okay, so this kind of brings in that theory about the, and this is maybe just not provable yet. Maybe it's disproved, maybe it's not provable yet, about the phone tracking data. People who had been to Crooks's house, those phones had also gone to places within 8 minutes walking distance of FBI headquarters, blah, blah, blah. So, that story's all over the internet, but
I looked
you
into
have
that one,
searched that and couldn't find it connected.
They cite the Heritage Foundation, they cite the Overview Project, the Oversight Project. I don't see shit on their website. There's all these stories that refer back to Heritage, but when you go to Heritage, there's no report there that shows anything. So it seems like the whole story is just some fabricated nonsense. And when you, and even when you think about it, I've got no love for the FBI. I think they are, I think most of them think that they actually are doing good, and they're getting led around by some evil motherfuckers. And so, everybody knows, right, that the FBI, 97% of the FBI's cases is inner city African Americans getting arrested for fucking drugs, right? Or some of them, I'm sure, are African British.
They do some white collar crime too.
White collar crime.
I had a friend that did that.
Yeah, and in every single one of those cases, white collar crime, subjugating poor people, they're all the same. They all base, when you look at the court records, it's all cellular data. Every single fucking time somebody's having a phone conversation about the kilos of drugs, and their phone's sitting right next to them on the table, and they've got the whole goddamn thing recorded, right? Slam dunks. Just, it turns these FBI agents into Michael Jordan for their day in court, because it's a no-brainer. It's like, obviously, most of the guys don't even go to court. They just take the deal because it's fucking impossible to, how you can argue about that? So then the 3% of their cases are political hits, and they just are taking people out, whoever they're told to, and they do the 97% so they can really do the 3%, right? And so, like, fuck you, FBI. But in this instance, I think when you're talking about, at least I will give them the respect they're due and say they're not goddamn idiots. I mean, these guys work cases. No one who's in the bureau hasn't testified about cell phone data. So, of course, they didn't walk around with a fucking cell phone and then go to Crooks's house and then do his job and then back to the headquarters. Their whole business is built around.
That's a really good point, actually.
Cell phone data.
That's a good point.
They're gonna, oh shit! Hey, we're planning to assassinate the president. Hey, Tom, did you remember to turn the cell phone off? Oh, god damn it! I did the whole thing with the cell phone on. Fuck, man.
All right, good point.
Come on.
Good point. Good point.
Give me a break.
Good point. I do believe that most of the people in these government agencies are good people who are just thinking they're doing the right thing and doing their job, and that the corruption is at the top, and it's major corruption at the top.
But also willful blinders. And I think willful blinders is something.
Well, willful blinders, and they keep everybody compartmentalized and separated and all that. But there has been a history of, these agencies, these rogue agencies, the CIA and all these people doing MK Ultra, and they've got their
What is that? A drug? Okay.
psychological entrainment to get people to do
LSD probably.
what they want. I've actually met some of those people, and but so they can coerce people, and sometimes people, they've got something on. They're one of their, what's that CI word?
Confidential
informants, all that kind of stuff.
We really have to do an episode on confidential informants.
Yeah.
Fuck confidential informants. Fuck, that's the the thing. I don't know what I just cited before as the reason I dislike the FBI the most, but
you just come up with a topper.
It's confidential informants. Fuck you, man. Fuck you guys and your confidential informants. To the very idea that a confidential informant is not a paid employee of the FBI and is allowed to plant evidence and push fucking agendas, and like if an FBI agent were to say, hey, let's go do some terrorist attack, that would be entrapment. Right. But as long as it's the guy that's making $200,000 a year as a confidential informant does it, because he's not a employee of the FBI, huh? Like,
it's part of the strategy of a lot of stuff that's going bad, going wrong, is that they outsource things. So okay, the FBI agent can't do it; he gets the confidential informant to do it. The government can't do it; they get a corporation to do it. That sort of thing.
Biden can't do it. He drives to the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania and he gets Thomas Crooks.
Okay, whatever. Okay, so that's kind of the main theories.
Cool.
Let me just see my shit that doesn't make sense list. The increased security was repeatedly denied, apparently. Normally, you talk to some of these people that have been on these kind of details and stuff. Normally, for a venue for a crowd that big, you saw how big that crowd was. There would be all of this security check of backpacks and all kinds of stuff coming in. There would be 5 counter sniper teams. There would be drones. There would be aerial surveillance. There would be all kinds of stuff. And by the way, they have been denying RFK Jr. Secret Service protection this whole time. Right after the Trump attempted assassination, Biden said, I'm going to give RFK Jr. He's been asking for it for over a year. And look at his family history. So they're finally just giving him Secret Service protection.
Some people in his family got shot before, did they?
Yeah. So these procedures that they did on that Saturday are far different from the norms for a leading candidate and a former president. They were supposed to have a security briefing that day with local enforcement. Hello, I was an event planner for a while. If you're doing an event, you meet with everybody, you coordinate things. You have like a person that's a central, or a group that's like a central command and stuff. They didn't have that. I have a clip. I don't know if we have time because we're kind of going over. We like to keep the videos kind of short, but this is a big topic, right? But
our weird version of short.
But they didn't have the briefing with local law enforcement. They didn't have communication devices that could, that's just ridiculous. Wow. There's an ABC interview of the local law enforcement, and one guy's the SWAT guy, and they did not have contact. Local law enforcement did not have contact and communication with the Secret Service until after the shooting. Mm-hmm. So this is all just like such anomalies.
This is like a huge topic.
The perimeter was, the perimeter of the thing was just before that building, That's ridiculous.
Open roof.
Crooks was reporting missing that day. Crooks bought a 5-foot ladder. They made a big deal about that ladder. He didn't use that ladder to get on the thing. He stepped on the air conditioning unit.
He didn't have to.
The big ladder that we saw pictures of was the law enforcement bringing it afterwards to get up on there after Crooks was shot. Yeah. But where is this 5-foot ladder that they talked about? What is the vehicle? They said he came on a bike.
Where is the smoking gun?
They said explosives were found in a van. They said he had this other, like, Hyundai or some other vehicle.
They say a lot of things after the fact.
They said he flew a drone. Christopher Wray in the Senate hearing said he flew a drone. There's no other people that have any other, evidence of that.
Huh.
And how was he able to fly a drone?
Yeah.
The law enforcement reported him a suspicious person at least 90 minutes. Others say 100 minutes before the shooting. He was using a rangefinder, they said. He was hovering around the perimeter of the building. I've seen video of that. All those people shouting that, he's on the roof and all that.
If you can believe it. The thing is like, we've really come to this place, right? Like, because I try to be sort of critical about things and try to be, I try not to swallow the first glimmering thing I see in the water, right? Like I try to look and.
You got to be discerning. You got to be skeptical until you prove.
But here's the thing: is how do you do that anymore? Because, like I watched the video of. There's this video of the guy recording, and they're saying there's a guy on the roof, and there's police there, right? And if you sync that, which I did myself. The audio of what they're saying in the background, you can hear people talking, Trump talking. And if you sync that to the video, there really is there's at least 90 seconds of a difference in the time. So like, if we sat here, watch this, watch.
We're not going to do this. Serious?
That was 5 seconds.
Right now?
That was 5 fucking seconds. Did that seem like a fucking eternity of just no noise?
Well, most say 2 minutes.
So imagine that going on for 2 minutes, and they don't somehow have.
But there's new video. I saw new video last night that there were like minimum 11 police officers that came. Since the people said there's a guy on the roof, they're all hovering around the building. They can't see him on the roof.
Yeah, but
people are saying that, like these SWAT team experts and all that kind of stuff are saying there's that 18-inch little gully on the roof thing. And so that Crooks was crouched down. He was near the pitch of the roof. And they're saying that's why it was hard for the sniper to take him out or whatever, because it was just barely his head.
But that's I think the biggest
But you
fallacy.
could see the police officers trying to see him. It looked like they were in earnest trying to see him.
Yeah.
So there was a police law enforcement response. It was local. It wasn't Secret Service.
Right.
And they were trying to find him.
And it seemed to me, looking at the video and the angle of those snipers that everybody has seen, that they were looking right at him. And I think
the snipers, yes.
Yeah.
And had him in his sights for a long time.
Yeah, but I think it's really important to recognize, right, that like imagine the nightmare it would be for the Secret Service if every time they saw somebody's head peek over some shit, they fucking blew it off. I mean, there would be so many innocent deaths. I think it was.
You know what? I grew up in Idaho, and Second Amendment, people having arms and stuff in Idaho. If somebody saw somebody pointing his rifle at the ex-president of the United States, one of those good old boys would have taken him out.
Of course.
I think the Secret Service didn't get the command to shoot. They didn't get the authorization to shoot.
It's interesting. I don't think they need it. I don't think there's any need to talk.
They shouldn't need it.
Yeah, I don't think they do. But that's an interesting point to know.
And there's a Candace Owens interview where she said, "Hey, I was around was it Trump? One of the presidents." With her and her husband came like from some place he shouldn't have been coming from, and it was all of a sudden like, yeah, get down, they had their guns pointing at him and stuff. She goes, they don't fucking, hesitate.
Of course. I mean, and if he had a gun in his hand, he wouldn't be here anymore, because I think that's really important to focus on is that the Secret Service can't just go shooting. I mean, for all you know, you got a couple of kids climbing up on the fucking roof just to watch Trump, right? Like, if you don't see a gun, what's the crime? You can't shoot somebody for fucking being up on a roof. You can only shoot somebody if they've got a gun that pointed at a fucking president. I mean, of course you can shoot. You have a duty to shoot, but if you don't see a gun, then you think, like, imagine if it was you.
But there was no warning. You could have fired a warning shot.
Yeah. Well,
You could have
that's true.
announced something. You could have whatever. But
Harsh.
that was outside the perimeter. So that was 150 yards, 130 meters, 147 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
Normally, the normal for the Secret Service is there's these concentric circles.
500. Yeah.
So 300
is the
yards
primary,
is the smallest one.
right.
And then there's others. So they made the perimeter
Because any sniper worth his
just
salt.
before that building. All those people that were along the fence, they didn't go through security. They were all standing there. So, I mean, it's just breach after breach after breach of normal protocol is quite suspicious.
Yeah. Oh, the whole thing seems like.
Everything is.
You know, I mean, really, it's the next JFK kind of a thing, right? I mean, like JFK, Twin Towers, who shot Donald Trump, right?
Well, and the thing is, like, the way the media or the government or the way they're talking about it, the people that are, you know, Cheadle and people trying to defend themselves in the Congress hearings and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of like, oh, everybody's bullying us. They're being all these conspiracy theorists. They're jumping to conclusions and all this kind of stuff. It's like, hey, you know, we've seen this lone gunman, you know, story before.
Try a new story, guys.
And we've seen what your congressional or what your investigative committees or whatever have come up with.
2 years
And
later.
you are not answering our questions. The head of the Secret Service comes to congressional hearings like 8 days after the thing and doesn't bring the timeline, doesn't bring anything. Every question she's got no answer to. So, of course, people are going to be
I'm sure it was
conjuring up
instantly
their own
forgot.
idea of what happened because, you know, they're not being obviously transparent.
Well, yeah, and they're trying to not lie under oath and expose themselves later on down the road when case shit comes out, right? So always they're just hedging their nonsense. Well, I'll tell you what, amazing.
I think we've
Great
said all
story.
we can say. Well, we
Well, it sounds like
aimed
we're
for
gonna
30
do-
minutes. We doubled that this time. Sorry
Well, it
about
sounds
that.
like we're gonna do another one on this later on.
Oh,
Get some
there's
more
going to
info,
be
yeah.
plenty of updates.
Pretty good.
By
Cool.
the minute.
Well, that was mind warp, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Once again, I'm Jan,
And I'm Paul.
and this is
Yeah.
the Shadow Cat.
Thanks for watching. And please, if you would, you know,
Like,
I mean, do we have
subscribe,
to say?
share.
Do
We have to say it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And put the little graphic in there, would you?
I mean,
Help us out a little bit.
thanks, guys.
Take care.